What it do, world? It's your boy, the Toothless Wonder, back with another video on the Bamboozled Again News Network. I try to cover you know, a myriad of different subject matter, right? And this one hit close to home. I was fumbling around on YouTube and a video popped up on my jump about the most dangerous hoods in Maryland, and it highlighted Cambridge, Maryland, the town in which I live in now. I currently live here, and I want to give my 2 cents on this here from the outside look. Now they, went to the hood, the projects, and talk to people, that kind of thing, whatever, whatever. But I'm gonna try to give you a look on Cambridge, Maryland in totality, right? Um, that's what I'm gonna attempt to do here. Where do I go first? Let me first off state I'm not actually from this particular town. If you look on a map, I'm actually from the next county to the north, going towards 50 West, which will send you to the Bay Bridge and then send you across the Bay Bridge into what those who don't or from the outside of this area would consider the DMV area. Side note, nobody inside the DMV area says they're from the DMV area. I want to set that straight as well. I think that's a term people use to describe the area to people who don't live in the area. But people from DC don't say they're from the DMV. People from Baltimore or the surrounding counties, nobody says they're from the DMV. They just say wherever they're from. This particular area is also known as the DMV. However, it's known as the Delmarva Peninsula, which encompasses the eastern half of Maryland that borders Delaware. I would assume the lower 2/3, because Delaware only has 3 counties, the lower 2/3 of Delaware until you start getting up into northern Delaware and getting more industrialized and northernized, and the eastern shore of Virginia if you were traveling to Virginia Beach. This particular area is very rural, a lot of farmlands known for a lot of like seafood, like your crabs and perch, a lot of things like that is known for this area. It's also a part of what I understand to be the chicken belt. There are numerous chicken processing plants here. So you'll see, even before whatever immigration thing they were doing, you'll always find a lot of Haitians and a lot of Hispanics working at these chicken processing plants. I've worked there a couple times. I can't do it. It ain't for the kid. It take a special type of Negro work at or a special type of individual work at a chicken processing plant for a living, day in, day out, year in, year out. Shout out to them. What else? What else we got here? But in reference to Cambridge, Maryland, I'm gonna highlight a plethora of things here. Let me go all the way back in the day. This particular area is very, very historic. Now, to those on, let's say, the western part of the Bay Bridge, suburbia, the part of Maryland most of Maryland is known for, unless they're going to the beach, which is approximately an hour and a half away from here, they don't know anything about the Eastern Shore. And it was like that even during like colonial or time for the Civil War. Typically, the ideology here is different than in Annapolis, Baltimore, so on and so forth. This is typically more conservative, more Republican, which clashes with progressive Democratic stuff in Annapolis, Baltimore, so on and so forth. During the time of the Civil War, the Eastern Shore was attempting to secede into Delaware since they have more in common. The lower 2/3 of Delaware is basically the same as the Eastern Shore. It's just a different state. Small towns. Only thing they don't have taxes, like sales tax. The layout, if you outside of how the roads are set up, if you crossed over into Delaware, you couldn't tell you weren't on the Eastern Shore. Um, we just have more in common that way. A vast majority of the produce, livestock, things of that nature. It's probably the base that fuels the rest of the state of Maryland. I know other places have, farms and things, but this is agricultural land. It's very rural. During the time of, it's very historic for the time of, like, during colonial times with George Washington and these type of people. That's why you have, Lord Baltimore. I'm from Talbot County. That was a lord back in, the English times. Maryland, even the name. has very close ties to England and so on and so forth. Even during the, let's say, slavery times, I don't know if this is the birthplace, but, the greatest or most famous conductor of the Underground Railroad, Harriet Tubman, was born just outside of this town. In the county I grew up in, Talbot County, we have Frederick Douglass, two of the greatest kind of slavery era, abolitionist era, Negroes. Most people know those names, but they don't know where they come from. Hence, that's why Dr. Umar is not related to Frederick Douglass. I keep saying that. I am from the place, grew up here, where these people are from, and that history was very well instilled in us growing up. They might be the two most famous people to ever come out of here, and they were what, 200-300 years ago. You see what I'm saying? We don't really have a whole lot. We really don't have a whole lot to go off around here because we're very overlooked pertaining to the rest of the state. And I'm gonna bring it forward, even to the times of, let's say, the 80s and hustling. Like, I grew up in a very small town outside of Eastern Maryland. It's approximately 20 minutes away from here. Going again up 50 West. But I was raised kind of very old-fashioned, kind of little house on the prairie, very sheltered to a degree. In the late 80s, early 90s, just how crack had took over during there, every place and everything. During this time period, Negroes were getting 20 years for $20 worth of crack around him. You see what I'm saying? The rest of the state, especially Baltimore guys, say they would laugh at us when we come into the system because we would have more time for $20 worth of crack than these individuals for multiple attempted unalivings. You see what I'm saying? Hold on. But like I said, I saw a video about someone highlighting, this particular town and the county they're in, Dorchester County. Even when I was in school back in the day, this was probably, and it's a small town, the most dangerous area on the Eastern Shore, by far. I've talked to other people from other areas who came in here, to party or go to the club, and they all said the same thing. We got fighting. Even when I was younger, because Cambridge, South Dorchester, and Easton are arch rivals as far as like high school sports-wise. When I started playing, it wasn't uncommon, football or basketball, if they were playing at whatever school, people would have to leave work early to get to the games because they would be sold out by halftime of the JV game. Like how them schools in, I guess, what's that, East Texas, when two schools are playing, they shut down the town early and everybody go to the game. It was exactly like that. This particular town has been known, even from the times of hustling, right? Jay-Z has a segment of his story here. Him, Emory Jones, these various guys, D. Haven, they were all in this particular town that I'm talking about and that I live in now. So it has, history as far as colonialism, as far as slavery, even as far as the streets. Even when I was in school, most of the plugs are here. Even if somebody gets jammed up in another county or whatever the case may be, 9 times out of 10, his supplier is from here. This particular, maybe because of, I don't know, maybe because of Jay-Z and that era, this town has ties to New York. I've actually seen D. Haven here during Cambridge Day. I've seen Oskino and some of the Philly guys here when they were having like Cambridge Day or a Pine Street Festival for Negroes or whatever the case may be. I don't know how that worked. You had to ask somebody else. But what I want to highlight, just like everywhere else, this place, number one, I actually was attempting to get into the schools. Let me see if I can help the kids. And I gracefully bowed out because now I'm understanding, yes, I can be a benefit, but because of the way the politics are, my effectiveness is going to be curtailed based on these corporate policies and these various initiatives that don't make no sense. So I gracefully bowed out of that. I just help them when I see them. But if I'm inside somebody's institution and I gotta ask or, you know, whatever, man, nah, I ain't doing none of that. This particular county is last in the state as far as the school system. I think there are 24 counties in Maryland. We're last, and we're like super duper last. Like we're 24, and then there's a large gap between us and the second to last. As far as this particular area, um, this area also encompasses Salisbury, Maryland, which is somewhat big. They have a 4-year college, civic center. It ain't big. And also Dover, Delaware. You know, we know the Dover Air Force Base. Dell State's there. This particular town leaves the Delmar Peninsula in unalivings and shootings, and that is in totality. Even if you take all the other areas combined and add those numbers up, it still doesn't equal the unalivings and the shootings here on a yearly basis. Now, I've heard these various talking points about like marine spirits and so on and so forth. It was interesting, right? But I do believe that to be true, and here's why. There's always been a dark kind of cloud over this county, especially Cambridge, Maryland, which is majority black. The actual town is. In order to get to this town, if you're coming from 50 East through Talbot County, you have to cross the Choptank River Bridge. If you're coming from Wicomico County, which is to the south, and going 50 west, you have to cross the Nanticoke River Bridge. Unless you're coming from Delaware, you have to cross a bridge to get here. And there's always been like a dark cloud. This place has always been different, even when I was growing up. They made it seem, like once I started getting my license and being able to venture out, they made it seem that if they found out you were from Easton or Talbot County and you were over here, you might not make it back home. We're talking like, when I came, it was kind of at the end of it. This like late 90s. Hustling was very, very prevalent here. And it still is. What else I got here? Not only that, you know how we're talking about these Diddy freak-offs and whatnot? Even now and to this day, and even back when I was in school, you could come over here and get you some sex. No matter, I ain't on the pay for it tip, but let you be a new face. That's why there are a lot of guys from the city who live here now, because it's just easier. Like sex is easy. All you gotta do is look different. This is a freak-off town. I know, like, when I was 21, 22, it was a dude from D.C. that was actually in a boys' home in the town I grew up in. And I see him later on in life over here. So I meet up with him. You know what I'm saying? We know each other. We was always cool, woo-woo. And he had his partner who was from D.C., but I didn't know him prior to me meeting him through the person I went to school with. He might have been 19 at the time. He was actually living with a woman who was in her 30s, in her like mid to late 30s, and he was 19 at the time. But he got her because she worked at the boys' home where he was, I guess, a clown or whatever you want to call it. They do some splacking around these parts. Again, when I talk about the rehab center, which is here in this particular town, and all the clients, all the staff members splacking all the clients, it wasn't that far-fetched going on here in town. That's how they get down. If you're looking for a wife, don't come here. I'll tell you that now. The Jezebel spirit has always been rampant here ever since I can remember, back in the 90s. I remember my first time coming over here. Me and my partner rolls over here, right? So we just rolling through. And this particular is known for its nightlife. Like even back in the day, like your Ella Fitzgeralds and, I don't want to go back as far as Dizzy Gillespie, but a lot like James Brown, they've all come here. Like this was a part of the Chitlin circuit. Even in the 60s during like the civil rights era, H. Rap Brown came down here and convinced the people to burn down their own stuff. This has always been a go hard town. So me and my partner roll around, we go to the club, we see a lot of cars pull up. Now mind you, we're from the other county. And I don't operate like everybody else. So I'm like, shoot, cuz, we should pull up and see what's in that junk. He like, man, I ain't going in there. And I understand why. I said, all right, well, you hold the car down. I'm going to see what's happening. Because I'm not, yeah, I've heard stories, but that, to me, it's not that I'm beyond it. I just don't be thinking like it's not. And then, you know what I mean? So I goes up in the spot, cross the metal detector that don't work. No sooner than this is my first time engaging with any colored folk in Cambridge, Maryland personally. Boots on the ground. I cross the metal detector. No sooner I cross the metal detector, a woman grabs my shirt and say, hey, I'm splacking you tonight. So I'm like DMX. I like, but not up in my face, so give me 3 feet. So I'm blown away by just the sheer offensive nature of this woman. I'm not used to it. I'm like, whoa. Then her homegirl grabs her and say, no, let me splack him. So they start arguing, like dry arguing about who gonna splat me first. I'm like, whoa, shawty, woo, woo. Let me be, so I get on my player tech. I've been sipping a little bit, you understand? I scan the room. There's an older guy who I now understand, owned the place. There's a youngin' in there, and I can tell he's not of age. He's rolling up trees right on the table with the blunt guts on the table. I see the brothers come out the bathroom and they, doing one of these numbers like, the booger sugar. And I said to myself, good God of mercy, it's raw in this camp. So I said, boy, if you got the balls be up in here, you balls get your issue. So I shuck and jive, get a drink. I go back home, my mind. Woo, woo. Later on, I run into the female individuals. And one of them was like, yeah, woo, woo. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I was looking for some trees at the time. We go on her back jump, you know what I mean? And there's like 5 or 6 females back there. Do you realize they was actually, like, the environment? Yo, I felt like they was going to run a train on me in there, yo. It's a true story, yo. So then her son comes through, who I had kind of known as I was moving and grooving about the town. And I felt so uncomfortable. When he rolled out, I rolled out with him. I'm like, yo, this wild in this jump. But you get used to it. But I will say it is a dangerous place for those who don't know how to hold their own. Like, I ain't never really had no problems outside of a few issues, but nothing super spectacular that I couldn't handle. But it wasn't like other places or like other friends of mine who come over here and got jumped, robbed. I'm not saying it can't happen, it just didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of been, a few other places, so I just kind of know how to operate wherever I go at, and I just be me. You know what I'm saying? But this place is very, like, I'm ready. Granted, my family here now, but it's very sad. And one of the brothers on the video has said how people come here and get stuck, and that is a true statement. The drug culture is terrible here. The recovery is slim to none. You have to go to other towns if you're trying to get help with that for the most part, or get some real like help on day in day out basis. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the school system is terrible. Last in the state. The politics are jacked up. Like I said, it reminds me of Baltimore in this degree, where the town's majority black, so they always hire a black mayor. Not the last one, but we had a mayor who, I think her last name was Stanley. She sat, in the mayoral seat for 12 years. And guess what she did? This is the only time I've ever heard of a black woman signing over power. She got voted in. She signed over the vast majority of her mayoral duties to a city manager, created that position, and that position is a vote on. They're appointed, I think, by the judge or somebody, which ends up being, a Caucasian folk person, whatever. Just like now, they're running for, I guess, mayor, and you got your, Negroes running, but the white man gonna win because you got 17 Negroes running. That's gonna split the black vote, and the white man gonna get in there anyway. It is what it is. But I just noticed, like, brothers will talk about, evolving the community. I'm of this belief. The community's done because there's no unity in the community. So they'll have, let's say a charity basketball game or some old stuff like that. They'll redo the park. But there's no systematic change. There's no change in the school system. There's no change judicially. There's no push for, let's say, skilled trades or, you know what I mean? It all be these symbolic kind of referendums and whatever, but the town actually gets worse. You see what I'm saying? But I go back to, there has to be some type of spirit here. Because like the brother said, people come here and get stuck here. Or they'll come here and get turned out on drugs and just never leave. Or I don't know, it's just wild, yo. It's just like really wild. Like here it is. Here's another one, because I played sports right in high school. There were some legendary athletes that come from this particular place who, if they went to school across the bridge or in the DMV areas, y'all would know it. Y'all might know them for watching them on TV. But again, the streets, the allure of the streets, or, you know what I mean, things of that nature, they never really got any, the light they should have gotten had they went to maybe school in a metropolitan area. Typically, with an Eastern Shore guy in general, we're probably better in shape because there's nothing really to do here. So we run around all day long. So we're probably in better shape. And we're probably better skilled because since it ain't nothing to do, if you play basketball, that's all you do all day long. You see what I'm saying? There's no other kind of, it's not like when I lived across the bridge where there's malls and or these various other, festivals or, whatever you can get yourself into. Typically, if there's something going on, you got to drive another 20 minutes to the next town. And then you see the same people. But this is just a quick take on my thoughts about Cambridge, Maryland, which has a very severe demonic entity residing over it. My mother, that's how I ended up coming over here. My mother actually married a pastor who was in the AME church, who was originally from the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. He came here. When I told my mother about the witchcraft that was going on at the job, she said that her late husband, one of his pastoral friends in the AME church who had came here, I think he had came from Kentucky. He said there's 3 things that I noticed about the Eastern Shore coming here from somewhere else. He said, 1, and which is true, we will tell on you. That's 1. 2, we will try to have sex with your significant other. That's true. That's true. And 3, he said, there's a lot of witchcraft here. There's a lot of spell binding or spellbounding here. Technically, if you look at it, drug dealing is casting spell. If you can get someone to give you their money to something that's destroying them and they can't stop doing it, that's a spell if I ain't never heard of one. You see what I'm saying? The cultural spell of degeneracy is celebrated here. Oh, I almost forgot. And I think I did cover this in the previous video. During the summertime, like it was around the time the kids were graduating. Hold on. This is around the time the kids were graduating. I step outside and I was doing my various errands, and I'm saying, yo, why is all these little girls butt naked? And I don't mean like hoochies type of stuff they normally wear in the summer. I'm talking about like almost corn style like outfits. And I'm blown away. I ended up taking my man up to the store later on. It was a whole car full of them with like denim underwears on. I'm like, yo, everything. I'm like, yo, what is going on here? Later on, I did some delivery orders back in said projects, and they had to call the state police and police officers all the way from Delaware to assist with this because the youngins had organized through social media a freaknik. It looked like an ant farm. And I covered this in another video. And I was so, like I had to process what I had seen because there was a large area, I don't know what the square miles would be, of young folks, most of which under 18, and all the young girls were outside literally with corn star outfits on. First thing I'm thinking, where's the grown folks? First thing I'm thinking, where are the city leaders? The black ones. They probably in there with them. You see what I'm saying? Yo, I can guarantee, and I talked to this about other people who live here, how a whole lot of body parts got sold that night. I'm trying to told you. Teenage pregnancy is off the chain here. Here's another one. Probably more so than anywhere else in the state would be the percentage of young black boys who are on psychotropic medication because their mother wants SSI. Even if ain't nothing wrong with them. That's a hustle here. When I watched the video, the brothers doing one, doing all, I guess they got gang. They've been here, but we're just catching on from other places, trying to be like other places. But it's going to be hard to gang bang in a small town where everybody know who you is. Can't nobody get away with nothing. You know what I'm saying? But this is all we had to look forward to. Or this is all we had to hope in. You see what I'm saying? If you ain't acting like, you know what I'm saying, the female's not going to splack you. You see what I'm saying? If you just straight laced, or unless you play, you know, like Biggie said, unless you sling crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot. So even if you're not out that mob, you're going to push into it to get some attention or to get some validation. And then everybody end up going to prison around here. You know what I'm saying? That's a foregone conclusion. The jail here, which was actually right beside the job I used to work at, that joint, I've only been there a couple times because I can't handle it. That joint is built like a Civil War jail. Like, there's no modernization, for lack of a better term. Whatever temperature it is outside, that's the temperature in the cell. They make it so bad over here that you cop out to go to prison because you ain't trying to sit in there for no year. It's tight. It's tight. But it's just like, I'm just highlighting this just to highlight how sad we is, yo. And how we don't want to solve the problem. We say it in lip service, but we ain't finna take no steps unless the white man give it to us. Or he laid a plan out for us and then pay us to do it. Like I said, here, man, like this is a hustle. They'll pay black women to put they especially their young black son, and give them some type of objective psychological diagnosis so they can get SSI. You'd be surprised of how many kids under the age of 12 years old are taking pills for mental health, yo. Like, this is like all I'm doing. It's sad, yo. It's sad, man. And then it's like, what can you do other than when I pull up on them individually? But you can't be around 24/7. You can't convince their mamas or their daddies or whoever to woo. You know what I'm saying? Everybody for self. You know what I'm saying? Not just here, everywhere. That's why I said, say the community. What community? In order to have a community, you need unity. It ain't no unity because they fostered this kind of competitive plantation construct type of junk. So yeah, let's say we all hustle. Yeah, we all right for right now. But let me make $5 more than you. You see what I'm saying? Now here come the snaking and here come the woo. You know what I'm saying? Which I never understood that. Even like if I rolled through the main street, was called Pond Street, right? Bro would sit up there and hustle all day long, and there's a police substation right there. Which makes no tangible sense. Why would you hustle right in front of the police? And then when they feel like it, or they need a bus, or just say they did something, they probably typically end of the summer, they round them all up. That right before the end of the summer, right before the summer, they round them up. Then how about somebody telling on you? But you just stood in front of the police substation and sold drugs all day long, yeah? You told on you. But you can't tell niggas nothing. Not to the point where they actually put it in the implementation and action. Sometimes I think we like our condition. We like being hoes and gangsters, or so say, even though nobody holds up to it. You see what I'm saying? Like psychologically, I think this is what we're hardwired to become. Just like if you were to put us in a better situation, we just turn that situation into what it is now. We're not we're not hardwired. I'm talking about the hood or ghetto culture. We might want better, but we can have better, but we're not going to act any better. You see what I'm saying? Like you might have a sister or a dude. Let's say a dude. I don't want to just hit the sisters all the time. Let's say you got a dude and he like, I want a good woman, but he been whoremongering all his life. If he get that good woman, because of how he's hardwired, he's still going to look for whores. Because the good woman don't do nothing for him because he's so used to dealing with whores. You see what I'm saying? We're now what they programmed us to be. Monkeys on a stick. We don't, like Scarface, Brad Jordan said, ain't no love in this mother. Ain't no love for yourself or your other brother. You're conditioned to hate on somebody that's doing better than you. That's why all this backdooring and snaking and, you know what I'm saying, the double cross or line of people, that's become more prevalent in the society or in urban culture because that's what we're conditioned to do now. That's why hanging with groups of Negroes don't make no sense to me. Because there's bound to be that spirit in it. If you watching videos and you operate and have a certain belief system, you know what I'm saying? This is just a small microcosm of what's taking place everywhere. There's Cambridges all over America. There's Baltimore's all over America. There's Washington, D.C.'s all over America. They just depend on where it's at. It just might have a little different feel, seasoning, fun sway to it. But the same stuff goes on everywhere. That's how I know it's systematic. But that's just a little quick one, man. Pray for us, y'all. Ooh-ah!